topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the host and their guests, and not those of W4CS Radio, its employees, or affiliates. W4CS makes no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening to the Cancer Support Network on W4CS.com.
Hey. So, Arti, we're here.
Hi, Dahria. How are you?
Well, you know what? I'm kind of having one of these days where I'm all over the place, right? Mentally. And so when I'm trying to zone in and like get centered before getting here, I said to myself, oh goodness, this is not possible, right? So I was kind of excited, obviously, for what we were going to talk about. But outside of that, I was needing to talk to you about my monkey brain and seeing how yours was today.
Yes.
I'm just being real. Like, I have to say, the monkey brain is definitely one of those things that kind of gets away with us. And I think it's just this kind of weird thought process. I mean, a weird way of talking about basically how a monkey goes from tree to tree and thing to thing and thought to thought when we're talking about our minds and how things kind of go there. And so I know I'm kind of excited to even possibly be able to reflect on how getting this subliminal part of me more in check, and what I can control about it, control. Some of it's uncontrollable just because of dealing with my multiple sclerosis. It's kind of like a whole training thing. But outside of that, but how are things with you? Like I said,
it's interesting you bring this up because what was it? When do we enter fall? I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, basically looking at it.
It's all blending together, right? Because the harvest season's here, you just don't remember. But I think, and just interrupt me if we've already talked about this, Dahria, but the idea of the equinox and the idea of that shift, I think we've talked about this. I'm sorry, y'all.
But you are definitely feeling it.
Yes, so that equinox shift with shedding layers and new shifts and trying to figure out the next steps is where I'm at. And so it's a lot of monkey brain, and I'm glad you're asking this question because I actually am going to just go where the wind takes me again, but then be okay with it. So, yes.
Right. Yeah. I think the mind kind of going off onto its own tangent doesn't help. And I think the anxiety aspects of, some of what we deal with and how many things we're dealing with all at the same time, kind of gets crazy. And I think we're not really in a society that allows us to slow it down, pause, if I may say, at the end of the day. And it's really one of those things where, we've even talked about in other cultures and societies, they are taking moments in the middle of the day to kind of pause.
They are. And actually, I interrupt you because I want to tell you. So my mindfulness training that I did, the organization I did it, they have these, it's called Meditate Together from Mindful Leader, who I love. Plug in for them. And I'm going to their conference this weekend, DC. I'm really excited. Mindful Leader. Okay. So they have these meditate together half an hour segments on the hour. And I haven't actually been able to join. But then but then this past week, an email came through about facilitating, and you know that I just love these mindful moments and everything. So, in order to get facilitate, you have to go to them. Now, girl, this and everyone, this is my latest thing. It's like my latest drug of addiction. Like they wanted you to get on 3 before you start your own to facilitate. And so this week I think I've gone like 4 times, and I love it so much. And I'm like, it's coming back to that idea of practicing for myself. And it doesn't always have to be the morning. So I just want to remind everyone, you can take moments wherever. And Daria is right. Other countries do have middle of the day. But in this country, since we haven't done anything like that, then maybe we just have to figure out when we're going to do it.
Ways to embrace like that when we're pushing the self-care. I think a moment of time where we are a little introspective instead of selfish might be better. You know what I mean? I think a lot of looking within that I have done has not necessarily been for me what I think is the traditional meditation. But I've been hearing about all these different types of meditation, which is giving me such space to say that I meditate.
Girl, I wasn't meditating. I was still having a monkey mind the whole time. But it's the idea
That's the point. That's the part. What I'm saying. You can do the monkey mind in the meditation.
You're supposed to, and that's what I'm so glad we keep clarifying, because every time I get this opportunity, how we have to clarify. I had monkey mind the whole time. I'm thinking about, and then you just bring yourself back, right? Non-judgmental. So when you look up, and I think I even told you, John Kabat-Zinn, who is doing this amazing work at, all over the place, but really helped to bring those Buddhist principles here. When you look at his definition of looking at the present moment non-judgmentally, you are going to have monkey, but that's what we're supposed to do, just bring it back to the present moment. But yeah, Daria, you're right. There's no need for definitions. You have transcendental. I can't talk.
Transcendental.
Transcendental.
Yeah.
You have, right? You have different forms, just like different forms of yoga. You have different types. You have mindful movement. You have walking meditation.
Even like the walking, or I find myself, to be honest with you, maybe because of what I do, not the point, but at the same time, kind of by myself in a lot of spaces, in quiet, peaceful places. Maybe the cemetery, maybe, obviously even our car rides, if you shut off everything and just kind of get into your own space there. I think I find myself, maybe because it's also contained, you know what I mean? Or intentional in reference to what I'm trying to focus on at that moment. It's like, okay, what am I trying to do? I can't walk away when I'm in my car, right? I can't walk away. I can't go anywhere. I'm just like, boom, stuck, right? And so that's where a lot of probably my thought process goes. But then I also try to find ways to just kind of ease myself out. And that's where I found some music can help as well. So it's been trying to find what brings peace to my brain. And I think a lot of it for me is just silence across the board. I grew up in like a suburban area with a big field in the back. It was just one of those places you get up in the morning. They had a garden out there. I just go out there and pick, string beans and kind of be with just the sounds of nature, basically. I think, so I guess it would not be necessarily silence. I guess it would be nature, would be a place where I think my mind can have the space to get into a meditative zone. You know what I mean? But I feel like for some reason it has to be after I get a couple things in order. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm just saying, I'd have to probably walk a little bit and then sit and meditate. Hopefully the walking is where I get it done.
Yes. Or to develop a system of your own, right? Like you just
I'm trying, but I'm not eating.
But I do want to tell you, it's nice to have that inward journey on your own, but it's so nice to be able to meditate even on Zoom, where it's like you realize you're with people that you don't even know, but it's so amazing.
Yes. Now, what do you think about meditation and intuitive healing?
Oh my God, I'm all about it.
Okay.
Yesterday, my girls pulled out selenite. I had gotten them a crystal selenite, one of those, and they brought it, and I was like, okay, I want you to close your eyes and let's practice where I can feel like which chakra you're opening. And so, is it my right here? We call our third eye, and so you can literally feel when you're closing your eyes. Sometimes you can feel light, or people say they'll feel light or they'll feel something. But when you're really in tune, you can actually feel energy around, or if somebody's in your proximal space, even when your eyes are closed.
So this is crazy. There's a gentleman yesterday. My husband was walking around at a service, and this young gentleman, which, if you're trying to connect people that would be meditators or into metaphysics, physicists, sorry. Sorry. I mean, if you looked at this, you wouldn't necessarily connect those dots. So he had said to my husband as he walked by, "You believe in God, huh?" And so my husband turns and he's like, "Yeah, why you ask?" He was like, I can just feel your energy. And so then it got into him in this deep, deep explanation of even, death and how we deal with it and how we see it, and his perspective on it, and his responsibility. It was just like so many values in this young man, and it was one of those things where my husband came right back and was like, "Listen, I just had one of the best conversations," and that he's in his 50s, and this is a young man that's kind of just pouring out an area that I feel like in my upbringing, and probably even my husband's upbringing, it wasn't an area that we necessarily were talking about, you know what I mean, in reference to metaphysics, and additionally energy. And we were talking about vibes, you know what I mean? Like good vibes, bad vibes, that kind of thing. But to really dissect good vibe, bad vibe down to now, whether it be, these different types of energies, the chakra bases that, and really realizing even some of the chemical explanations of things, you know what I mean? I think one thing that I always look at is that different people find ways to get a perspective on that end of life. And one thing about it is like this matter is not created nor destroyed. And it's just like, and then how that takes anybody, whether religion, whatever, it kind of goes to, there's this like scientific base there. And so I think that aspect of things has been something that was kind of not taboo talk, but it was kind of like one of these things where only certain people had the knowledge or did it, or it was culturally, something that was part of, your culture, your religion, or whatever the case may be. Plus, also the word meditation, and even how Christianity can look at it when we use the word prayer all the time. And I'm trying to figure out, is it wrong to put a connection? You know what I mean? I feel like I feel like sometimes going into certain spaces, am I going to be questioned whether why I'm in that space because of somebody's eyes that are maybe walking the the same walk as me, but are still judgmental in so many ways that keeps you basically pigeonholed, you know? And so I think in a lot of the African American cultures, we have held on to religion for many reasons, or in reference to our treatment throughout. But I think that it's also hasn't given us the space to be able to look at the whole world and how it's really here to serve us, in its best light. And I think one thing is this interconnection, because we always look at this outer, we're looking at the outer us. We're looking at our surroundings, what cars we have, what jobs we do, what. But who are you inside, right? Like when somebody does something bad to you, how do you process that in reference to your integrity as a person? And so I think this inner looking at self and this reality that there's a subliminal aspect of us that needs to be self-cared as much as possible as well. And I think when we're talking about stress, that is doing what it's doing to us health-wise. Come on, Arti.
Oh, yeah. Health and stress, man.
Yeah. Did we go up? I remember it used to be like 85%, right? Now I heard like a 90-something%.
No, my gut stress connection. I mean, like, it's insane.
This is what I'm saying. And
like, do you realize the ulcers and all these other, like, anything, canker sores, ulcers, skin? Think about it. Do you still break out in your 40s? I break out still. What the hell? I was supposed to be done here, right?
And I just point it out for you. It ain't gonna be there next week. You know what I mean? Like, what am I supposed to say? It is what it is. I think the thing about
what is it? The skin is our last form. It's the last place that stress manifests itself physically. So do we understand what's happening on the inside then? All those layer upon layer upon layer. And then here we are.
Right. But Arti, this is it. Let me tell you this, right? So I'm dealing with having to take courses of antibiotics, right? Mm-hmm. Talk about all the things that they can do to you when they're supposed to be curing you. So my daughter's really funny because she'll stand in the middle of the kitchen and she's like, and it's one of those things where I had to stop her from reading like page 4 and 5, right? Because I saw her face click to like, okay, this is not the commercial and the funny joke about how many side effects there are from each drug that we're deciding to take. She's realizing, oh, this drug is going into her mom, and oh, I don't think I want you to take this one, Mom. And that was page 1. You know what I mean? And so I think recognizing how much when we are not having our minds mentally in line and having to make these decisions on medications that are a lot to swallow, right? At the end of the day, it's like, well, how do you, one, move, but first stop and think, okay, what are my options? What is my goal? What am I trying to do? Is it longevity, quality, quantity? What is it? You know what I mean? And it is a balancing act in reference to figuring out what's what, right? But I know if I'm dragging my booty around here, you know what I mean? She ain't going to be doing better than if I'm taking the pill. You know what I mean? If I take the pill, I'm thinking about her. I got to balance that because I also know that you got to put the life mask on yourself to be able to save your child, which is definitely hard for me. I'm still thinking I'm going for the mask first. I have to be honest for you and putting it on her, but we'll see. Or we'll never see.
Oh, I know. It's a lot to process, but
A
yeah.
lot to process, and see why meditation would be, and even this thought process of hypnotherapy, because that would be just amazing. I've heard a lot of people doing it for smoking cigarettes.
Oh yeah, for smoking cessation. So back in my old one of my old practices, we had a hypnotherapist, and he had a he had an opening, and so he had me. He's like, just try it and sit down. And I like, and it starts by looking at these eyes, and it's, and then literally every time I think about the word like silent, now I'm forgetting. I'm sorry, but if every time I have this, it takes me back to that moment of taking a breath, because I think he in our session, you just that slowing down of the mind. And I'm telling you, for smoking cessation, the research is there.
I know. Well, so yeah, I had a family member that actually had done it, and it seemed to work, because I don't remember seeing them ever doing anything again. At the same time, there's got to be, and that's one thing I want to get an understanding, is there's got to be an inner want, I think, that connects with. What do you think?
I think your conscious self has to have some desire in order to get to the subconscious subliminal piece, to then the unconscious, where all of that hypnotherapy basically then will get down to. So I think motivation is everything.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think
Because
it
I
has to be
think the
there.
thing is,
I think that's a great question, first of all, but in my opinion, yeah, for sure. What do you think?
yeah, no, I'm just thinking, it always, because I really want
Sorry, am I
to
having
be able to.
internet difficulty? I guess.
Oh, I know.
Oh, was it you or me?
Yeah, but it's definitely you.
Oh, okay. It's always me.
I don't care. All in all.
I was just asking your take on it. You asked me a question. I'm throwing back to you. What do you think on that motivation? Because it's a great question.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely true. And I think that's a little bit of why it aggravates me, because I really want to get there. And then I'm in that space, and because I can't get the monkey in and training, it's going all over the place. And then I never reach the peak. What, I don't know, reach, And so I feel like this is one thing. I've been taking different like meditative classes, right? And I have found that you need to basically make sure that you're like practicing over and over. And this is the worst thing, is that I tell my kid all the time, practice makes, and I always say, not perfect.
Oh yeah, I
it makes perfect. Okay, it makes better than where you're working at before, is basically where it is. But it's not perfect. I say that. But at the same time, I think that's one thing, is that I've heard that this training of brain, which I've taken a class just recently on how to cognitively kind of train your brain to get a little bit more focus. And it was what is it? I think it was like 3.5 months of once a week getting together in like a group setting. It was like a cool telehealth kind of program that's connected to my health care facility here. And so the thing about it is that class was even amazing, because how I was trying to get focused in the class, and I could realize how I wasn't getting focused. And it was just like, okay, next class is this is my class that I'm going to stay still in the camera. I'm going to look like everybody else. I'm not going to be doing anything. I'm just going to stay still. I couldn't do it. Why? Because I'm also dealing with stuff that was a little bit for an older person, the things that an older person would be dealing with mentally, and then how to help them kind of get things still done, being productive, da da da. So the room was definitely not a whole bunch of high powered people, you know what I mean? And so it became one of those things where I didn't have a lot of connection in the room, but I gained a lot of knowledge from the information that was given, at least to tell myself what I needed to be doing now. I didn't have anybody to kind of ride it out and talk to about it, which was kind of only lacking aspect. But that's been the lacking aspect with a lot of things, in reference to our ability to connect. But Arti, do you remember when we were working together with the Reiki Foundation, right? And they had been talking about how you could actually feel each other's energy through the virtual world.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, you can.
And I felt something.
Yes. Let me tell you, have you been on a work call, a work meeting where everybody's like, right? And then you have that energy. That's all when we're all feeling the same. There's a book I always use. It's called Dahria. It's such a good book. It's called The Invisible String by Patricia Karst. It's a children's book, but I love it for everything because look, all the places you go, Dr. Seuss, like all of it. It's so great.
Yeah.
For grief, Tear Soup. Tear was a great, but
definitely good.
The fact of the matter is we're tied together by this invisible string. So whether we are connected through, like you're saying, you do feel energy, and you can tell, and you can tell how having reflective space after meditation, like it's just so powerful. And I'm hearing a lot of people talk about it. They've done it once and they want to do more and they're trying to get back. And I want to just acknowledge like what you're talking about. It is a pendulum right now. And it does have to do, if you look at all of energy science, tell us we're in a shift because when the seasons change, we go through that pendulum, right?
Yeah.
Our body's asking for different types of food. Sometimes we're still not feeding it the same food.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. Yeah, go ahead.
No. Give me an example.
So Hindu by religion, but I consider myself spiritual in general. So that's just context. Navratri are the 9 nights, and you're basically 9 nights of worshiping the different forms of divine energy. So Durga is divine energy. She has 9 different forms. And so you fast for 9 days. I typically keep the first one in the 9 day. Now listen, everyone, fasting there is different definitions, right? Mm-hmm. Intermittent fasting the whole day and eating a meal at nighttime. So I just want to clarify that in this time of day, you can make fasting however you want to. Right. The reason why the more I research into these Vedic principles from our Eastern philosophy, they make so much sense. You have it twice a year. We have this fall one and this spring one.
Spring, okay, got you.
And what it's for is 9 days cleansing. So Dahria, I wasn't eating grains. I wasn't eating my breads. I was just eating a plate of fruit and water. And I usually used to fast till 12 in general, and I'd lost a little bit of that. But do you know by day 7, I'm feeling on top of the world because there's a book called The Brain by Dr. Daniel. Is it Daniel? No, it's Perlator is his last name. Mm-hmm. He talks about the brain and what brains can do. And you're like, oh, this is legitimately true when we feel your body.
Yep.
So I want to remind us we're also going through this little bit of shift where the summer foods that we love, colder. We're how you start to crave all your soups and the body is doing a different resetting right now, and so is our mind space. So for you to talk about the monkey brain today and being all over the place, it is very, very normal because it's getting ready for. I always call it we shed so many layers each season. Literally.
Yeah.
It works.
So
Yeah.
so what that it kind of brings me back because you were talking earlier about how like the seasons, and you've been saying it, and you're like even realizing, gosh, I'm saying it again. And so for you, what is the season doing outside of the monkey brain? Is that the only thing that you're feeling, or is there a sense of what other things are you
It's
feeling?
so fascinating. I'm trying to figure out, like, career-wise, what is the shift looking like, right? And
Right.
finding that balance. The other one is making sure, and Daria, I'm like, I can say in all honesty that I want to show up more for my kids. When I'm there, I'm there. Like, I literally sat down with my little one yesterday and looked at a workbook. I haven't done that all year because I don't get homework, but it felt so good to be. I was still having monkey moment brain because it was 3 o'clock. That's still usually work time.
Right.
But I still kept pulling myself back. Come on, moment. And so it's retraining our brain, Daria, because women especially are stretched so thin that they don't know how to stay present right now. And so, and if
have to show you.
and I know we want to have we have this working woman want desire, but we also have to train ourselves. It's going to take time to just cut
Right.
off the work and then get into that family or however. So my two things are finding that life work balance, but really being so present while these children are growing up and knowing that they're just not going to be there forever. They still like me.
Temporary.
I'm
Right.
cool, right? And I want to be cool to them, but cool means spending time in a really good lens,
Yes, I think it's in so many other areas in reference to how I feel about myself and my own values. I realize, and I was just actually had a group of my one of my cousins and one of my a family friend, honestly, but she's like a sister too, and another, and we were just over here and just talking together and doing the wellness check. And in that time, I wanted to let them know that, one thing I was realizing is that I needed to be intentional about the time with the different people that I love too. You know what I mean? And not just, work, work, work. Okay, I see him at a family event. I see him at a boom, or me and my husband do something whenever we can, or somebody invites us to something. You know what I mean? To be just like more intentional. And so one thing is that I've been, and I don't know, I mean, the journalistic meditation is
Mhm.
that, having this like pause moment of my own, I've been trying to figure out, okay, well, how do I get prepared for the next day? Right. And so one thing that that program taught me, right, was what all that you could get done going into your room at night, right? And actually carving out time right before bed. We're just writing out and dumping all the things that you might need to do or are still on your mind for the next day. Journaling them out, right? Journal those bad boys out. And guess what? Insomnia might not take you, okay? Because you've now possibly also put a plan together. One thing is I found a planner, and it doesn't have to be a planner, but for my brain to stay on track, I kind of got to map it out myself. So I know you guys can't see it that well, but I mean, it goes down what mood I'm in today, right? So, starting off, it gives you the morning time, what you do, and then at the nighttime, right? So the morning time, or I do it the night before, right, is kind of mapping out the next day. Like, what will I do to make me feel happy today, right? What am I going to be grateful for or excited about? You know, um, today's to-do list, and then by half an hour, what am I doing? Right. So I'm waking up and I'm like, I'm going to do yoga. I'm going to meditate. Yeah. This is the thought process, right? I'm going to do
It's a game playing.
exactly. So like game playing, right? Even a quote for the day, affirmation for the day. Okay. Then that evening, you're supposed to say what your victories are.
Journal. I've been looking for one, by the way.
I gotta send it to you. Oh, guess what? I know. Trust me. I already got this in thought process. Girl, don't go buy nothing. I'm sending.
I'm not buying it. You gotta tell me where you got it from. If you didn't invent it already.
No, can't tell you, because then you're gonna get it, and I can't give it to you as a gift. Forget. I gotta get first. Let me give it to you a gift, and then you get all the little coupons that come in the back.
Love me some coupons. Everybody needs to be couponing right now. If you haven't started, you should.
Tell me about it, especially when we're talking about mapping out your life. I feel so bad. I'm like, you know what? I'm not even gonna say what I was gonna say, but you got to buy one every, But this book, this is another thing about the planner. Finding the planner that is not going to hold you to the month.
Yeah.
The open-ended one, because honestly, I'm trying to train myself, but it's not that good. There's a lot of wasted pages, maybe a couple months, maybe
so Dahria, the one that gives you permission not to do it every day. Is that what you're saying? Yes.
This is what I'm saying.
This is great. It's about, and thank you for acknowledging the fact that we do need to write down our goals, and we do need to write down, and thank you for talking about the brain dump the night before, because I have started, by the way, this week, the one where you do the morning, take a minute, put Alexa on for a minute and dump out, and then prioritize.
Perfect.
Because I gave that, I literally told people to do it. So of course, a good coach also gives it to themselves and themselves, right?
Lead the way, right? I know. Well, you do.
Yes.
But sometimes
Yes. Don't you love leading the way by you doing it at the same time? I don't like calling leading the way. I don't like that definition. I'm like, you guys, I'm doing it alongside with you, because I will tell you the things I did. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's why I think I loved when we were using the word meditation, when we got together in our little pause focus groups, right? We were using the word meditation, and you went to guided relaxation, and I was like, because that meditation word was kind of scary for me, because I was always feeling like I wasn't achieving any of it.
And you know what, Dahria? Now I call them guided moments. Like, I don't even. Now I even want to shift it to what Mindful Leader calls it, meditate together. I'm not guiding you. I give you a prompt to start, and people who do a guided facilitation sometimes go the whole way through, but now it's so I want, you and I've had this discussion, and everyone who's listening probably feels like sometimes we get saturated in words and what they mean. And that's because words matter, right? We tell our kids, words hurt, words have power, words have everything.
They do.
So when you hear the word meditate, you told me, it stresses me out. I tell people, y'all, I am not a meditator. I'm trying to get into my mindfulness practice. Do I hope one day that I get meditation state? Oh, sure. And are there times I have meditated? Yes. But it doesn't mean it happens every day. So I want people to get out of the zone of this, oh my gosh, these people who are closing their eyes, it literally look like they're in the moment, and no, y'all, it's okay not to like that.
Right. So because the chick with her legs in crisscross applesauce and the hands in I'm like, she is so peaceful, and I am
tired of that being the only way, Dahria. You could be sitting in your chair doing this and closing your eyes. I'm not kidding you. You don't have to be on the floor in lotus position. It's okay to give the open-ended prompt. Your chair, your cushion. You may be laying down and doing it.
That's it. And I think it's a piece of the puzzle as well. It's not the puzzle. You know what I mean? It's where we kind of can get into the zone, get whether focused, centered, relaxed, get into, whatever you're using it for. You know what I mean? I think it's not the end all be all, because you come out of the other end, and guess what? There are things still going to be going on. It's just how you're going to receive them, right? Or you're going to additionally respond to them, is I think where I find those moments of solitude very helpful for me. You know what I mean? To kind of map out really the who I am, what I believe, so that and how it also is in conjunction with others, and how they additionally live their lives, and how I can also help others. So it's just like this thing where that alignment always becomes like, once again, to the forefront. And I think finding alignment, head, heart, then to the world, I think that is very possible. When I have done different meditative, whether it be like trying to train like courses, or additionally even in there's this app called Master's Class, and they've got this guy, that teaches us all about yoga and meditation. I mean, excuse me, not yoga, excuse me, all about meditation and how to get there, and taking his stuff. And he even gives you the space, you know what I mean, to know that, oh, it's okay. You know what I mean? To kind of be all over the place, but also to pull its coattail and pull it back in, just so that you can actually be training the brain to kind of to not run off with you. Because I think a person like myself, right? I have multiple sclerosis, as we know, right? But I was not, I think, as unfocused, as I am now, until this lesion hit me, right? So there's one lesion kind of like doesn't let the thing focus and creates an ADD aspect of things, right? But at the same time, that has been something where I've been learning how to now gain control of it. So kind of allowing it to go everywhere, but still giving a little tug to make sure you're zoning in somewhere in the space, I think is necessary too, because some of us do deal with, issues that are, not something you cause at all, right? But something that you deal with. It's part of the cards you dealt deal. And I think finding different ways to be able to do that, like Reiki and, different types of
energy modalities.
Energy modality. I was going to say, what is the term, Arti? Because you're of the world. What is the term? Energy modality.
I mean, energy science is legit, people. It really is.
Because
astrology is a science. It's there's science behind all of this stuff. It's not. We need to get out of this zone that allopathy, traditional medicine is just our one. Yeah, it does work, but it was designed to be our emergency fix. Nobody was designed to be on medication for the rest of their lives, Dari, except for certain situations. I'm not saying, but for the majority.
I know. I think the thing is, the fear about hypnotherapy is that it was always like, somebody's going to take control of my brain and I don't know, right? And so it's like, oh, like,
and that's a mistake. Nobody's doing that. I mean? All they're doing is a trained facilitator helping, and when we have our special guest who really will help enlighten us, but it is the idea of it really, that guided facilitation of getting into that zone. Nobody can take over your mind. I think that's
the same thing.
It's like when we talk about brainwashing, you have to.
I know. And we talk about religions and things like that. Like you know what I mean? Like, I know.
I really, in my heart of hearts, believe if somebody has knocked you down enough and been emotionally abused, physically, like when you have trauma that you carry will impact how information overload, and that impact definitely. But that's not called brainwashing. That's called what the role of trauma can do in terms of how we are conditioned.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That's my biggest thing.
Brainwashing. No, you can touch it. Oh my gosh, we're almost out of time. Daria, you and I could just talk forever and ever.
Girl, are we? I can't. I just looked at the clock. 5 minutes.
No. Can I ask you a question? Because my monkey mind's been talking about all. I really want to know what your quote on the back of your beautiful mirror. What is it today? Or where is it?
Oh, okay. So, and this is the thing. Talk about in one of my pause moments and trying to put things around me that remind me. And even in my living room, if you saw that above my fireplace, it says choose joy today. And it didn't just say choose joy, because that's way too open-ended. It's today. Okay. But this one actually says life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain.
Oh, that's one of my favorites.
Yes, you've seen that before. Oh, you know what?
Yes.
I realized that there's no author. I gotta look up who's.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. Because guess what? Yes, the sun does come out, but there's storms every day, right? We all have little mini storms, and then
Yeah, and it's like recognizing the rainbow as well. I mean, there's some rainbow moments if you can grab onto the silver linings of life. And there's tough times across the board, and it's just how are we going to ride that wave of the ups and downs of life and the valleys that kind of come with it. And I think if we're riding, let's try to find some tools to also help us as we're riding, because it's not easy. It's just like this whole thing called life is definitely not for the faint-hearted at all, and it can be really difficult for some people to feel like they can, and the reality is they can. It's just people seeing that you have and others will too be able to do. And so being that example, just like you were saying, I follow you, meditate, bring me in.
Oh my God. We all are in it together. And just before we end, I think it's highlighting in this period that we are like back to self-compassion. Just show yourself grace, because we're all trying to figure. It's not just about COVID, people, right? We're always trying to figure it out. So it's just that it added another layer. So just remember, even more gentleness as we add that layer of collective trauma to figuring out what's the next going to hold for us.
That's it.
Well, thanks, Dahria, for another. Yes. All right, y'all, for tuning in and pausing for this moment and pausing in your day sometime, right?
Thank you. And letting us let a little bit of the shine come through as well, because that is always important, shining a light on what this whole life has to offer. And I know Arti has done that for me. So I love you, girl.
See you. Bye, everyone.
Blessings, y'all.